Good afternoon, Mr. John Watts. It's a great pleasure to talk to you about your fantastic new album. And since I heard it, it's about a month ago, I can't stop playing it at home or in my car. And first of all, I'd like you to ask something about the title, Swimming in Thunderstorms. I'm guessing it's a metaphor for the dangerous times we live in.
It is, and it's really funny. I mean, literally over the last week, with things like Donald Trump's decision to withdraw all the American troops, then it's even crazier.
Yeah, true. Is the title only related to the political times?
No, it's related to everything really, because political times affect everything social, and they affect everything personal, so everything's pretty crazy.
Okay. I've read in the liner notes on this album that the first song, Big Wide World, is connected to the last song of the album.
Yeah.
The beautifully arranged cardboard street.
Oh, thank you.
Can you please explain this?
Well, I come from quite a military family, and so I've got an understanding of military. Something like 1/3 of the homeless people in England, homeless men in England, are ex-soldiers. And they come into it because when they come back from a traumatic place, they can't reintegrate. Mm-hmm. And so the first song, Big Wide World, is about the idea of a soldier who wants to return to his childhood. He wants to go back to when things were simple. Mm-hmm. And so he wants to go back. So he's actually kind of calling out. He's like calling out to his mum. He's just calling out. He wants to go back. And when we made a video for that, I don't know if you saw the video for that, with the video, he goes back and then it's too much for him. And he just smashes up the room. Mm-hmm. The memories are too much. That's one angle. The second one, the cardboard street, is basically it's something that I saw at Christmas time. There was a homeless man who was in a very bad way. He was being picked up by the police and by the ambulance thing from the street. Mm-hmm. He was a soldier. He just looked like a soldier. Had all sorts of stuff. And there was a woman and a small child standing there. And what I did was I made up that story. The idea that they were about to he was very ill, they were about to take him away. And then, fortunately, his wife and child turned up, so it made his life worthwhile. Now, although that wasn't absolutely true, it could easily be true. Mm-hmm. And so that was it. So you got two ends of the same thing.
Okay. Also read somewhere that your own father and grandfather were both soldiers too. Grandfather even fought in the First World War.
Definitely, right across
in Belgium.
France and Belgium.
You always show much respect and empathy for the soldiers, I think, in your songs, and you always focus on the human side of the story. Has this anything to do with your own history, your family background?
Oh, definitely, I think so. Because I mean, the thing is that soldiers don't want wars. Soldiers don't want battles because they know the consequence. Mm-hmm. And also, it's not the soldiers that cause the wars. It's the politicians that cause the war. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do. I mean, I was brought up in the village in Sandhurst. Sandhurst is the military academy in England. I didn't live in the academy, but I lived close to it. Mm-hmm. I lived in the village. My father was the mayor of the village of Sandhurst, a Liberal mayor. And I was a choir boy at the Royal Military Academy, which is the army cathedral. And what's significant about that, every pillar, it's a huge building, every pillar a lot of them are marble pillars. They have a list of the different regiments of all the men that died in the First World War. So as a kid, as I was singing, you're brought up with it, you're just surrounded by different names. You realise the significance of it. What was very interesting was, come over here, my father died 5 years ago, but he'd never been in Belgium, to the Menin Gate. He'd never been. And so before he died, I was doing a festival somewhere near, so I went and actually filmed that ceremony for him, and he saw that before he died. But my grandfather fought right the way across, the Somme, Passchendaele, everything. He survived it. And he also, he was old when he went, but he had problems with his legs, so he ended up in charge of German prisoners. So he spoke fluent German.
Okay. That's a touching story.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Generally speaking, this album consists of two types of songs. On the one hand, they are the political songs. On the other hand, there are some beautiful love songs, I think. And the combination of those two, it's typical you. It's typical FISCHER-Z. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's always been those double elements.
Yeah.
Also, the political things, I've always been interested in the bigger political situations. Many of the bands I started with, they were all anti-Thatcher and anti-racism, which is all cool. This is in England. They're Anglo-centric. My work was more Eurocentric, which possibly explained why FISCHER-Z was so understood. Also, we did lots of shows in continental Europe and not many in England.
Okay. The song Stamp It Out is about what you call the non-stop lying of our political world leaders. There's even a reference to the Watergate affair that made me think of John Lennon, who was singing Give Me Some Truth in the 70s.
Definitely.
But now we may ask ourselves, is there any truth to be found? People don't know the difference anymore between fake news and facts.
No, it's very, very hard. I mean, the internet has resulted in the destruction of post-liberalism that's been consistent since the war. And I don't know if it'll ever catch up. I mean, for instance, Boris Johnson in England his advisors and his people are using the same techniques as Trump, exactly the same. Yesterday in Parliament, one of Boris Johnson's ministers, which one was, I can't remember, stood up and said that Jeremy Corbyn basically had said something. He said Jeremy Corbyn was anti-something and would not do a deal, which was an absolute lie. And people jumped up and said, that's just not true. And that's only happened in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's true.
As reality TV, online advertising and everything else all merge into one. Because previously I believed in pendulum politics. So if you get something extreme, like a right-wing swing at the moment, then in 4 or 5 years' time it swings back. But nobody knows. The internet situation is so weird. People, if they rely on their phones and stuff too much, they're being so directed. I was writing about that this morning. I was writing an article about that, the binary world. Because when I was 11 years old, we were taught modern maths by our maths professor, who was a genius. And she said that the world would be controlled by computers and by binary. And now we're in the second decade of the 21st century, and we're fighting against the binary world, because the binary world is creating horrible contrasts in politics, in surveillance, in every area.
Yeah, that's true. The Islamic American is based on a true story.
Yeah, a true story. Yeah.
Can you please explain for our viewers what it is about?
Yeah, there was this, I saw. I read the news report in the Times. A Syrian family wanted to go to Sweden, and they escaped through Jordan. Sweden didn't want them, and they ended up in America. They ended up in Texas. So there in Texas, the man, his wife, and a child. They don't want to be in Texas. Texas doesn't want them. And then they had another child. So the child that was born is an American citizen. They're born in America. So it's just
it's crazy.
True story.
Okay. We've just talked about some of the political songs. Maybe it's time to talk about the beautiful love songs on the album. First of all, there is Laughter in Drama.
Yeah.
I really love that one. And I also absolutely adore the video you did in the English rain.
Yeah, it's been very popular, that video. Especially, Andrew's put words on it now. So okay. I love it.
Yeah, I think the sound...
Magic moment, that was.
Yeah. The song sounds even a bit like an early Beatles song.
Yeah, it's quite Beatley.
Do you
agree? Quite Beatley or Beach Boy, yeah. It's got more chords than I usually do.
They should play it on the radio all the time. It's a great pop song.
See what happens with it.
Okay. Then the song Films with Happy Endings. It has a bit of the same uplifting atmosphere. The romantic guy in the song tells us about a love that comes and goes. Yeah. But still there is a returning phrase, never underestimate what love can do.
No, that's right. I mean, the idea that also the thing that's most difficult with if you're a relatively romantic character is that love affairs are not convenient in as much as they don't necessarily do this and then this and then this. They overlap, which is quite interesting. Okay. Or to do in my world anyway.
Yeah. Maybe my favorite track on the album is No Bahamian.
Oh.
It's such a marvelous piece of poetry, I think, and you sing it so beautifully and vulnerable. It also has a great arrangement at the end. Can you please tell us a little bit more about how you came up with that one?
Well, with No Bohemia, it was going back to the era when my grandparents brought me up. I was with my grandparents and old uncles and aunts, so they were Victorian people. And so I spent a lot of my young childhood, you'd be sitting in a room listening to the clock ticking, listening to these people talking, which was intriguing because they were from a different world. And all the things like our school uniforms and things were very after the 50s into the 60s, these scratchy socks and horrible grey stuff. And I'm just going back to that era. The music of it, I recorded it, I've sung it and recorded it a certain way. And then there's some of the musicians from the Flat Earth Society in Belgium. I just came and played, because we never arranged much, they played on it. And I decided to only bring the instruments in part of the way through. And the other thing, my girlfriend's a fantastic piano player, so she plays piano on that.
Well, I think it's
wonderful arrangement.
It's wonderful, yeah. Then Worry and Right Now are also two songs that really impressed me. Once again, I feel much empathy here within the complexity of love. And here you sound very, very honest and self-reflective. How difficult is it to write this kind of songs?
I think that, I mean, if you're working on the theory that if you're writing stuff that is true, then it's okay. You know, I mean, generally speaking, I think many songs that work well, even if they're metaphorical, they must be based on the truth. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. The song Stolen is written from the perspective of the younger generation, who live in more difficult times than we did. What difference do you see between the two generations?
Well, I mean, basically, my generation, I mean, I'm 64 now, so my generation had the easiest time anybody's ever had in history. In opportunities, in ability to make money, to be able to find a house, to be able to afford to have children. I mean, I have 5 adult children, and they all have great abilities, but they have to work so much harder, and it's so much to achieve the same things that I did.
Okay. You recorded the album in Amsterdam. Was this something special for you, and how did the process go?
Well, I wanted to record an album in somewhere where I could see out the window. I wanted a studio where they had good, solid gear, and I could see the water outside. And our gear and a lot of my technical crew are based in Amsterdam. And they recommended the studio, and they recommended Jan's studio to me. So I went there. It's connections via the band family. Our gear is based in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Okay. You're a recording and performing artist. Which of both do you enjoy the most?
Well, I like all of it, really. One of the things also makes you most happy is if I've just written something. The writing aspect is good as well. But I like the spontaneity of live, and I like recording too. But I don't like things that take too long, so I don't have very much patience.
Okay. Now you're back on tour here in the Low Countries and next in Germany. How does that feel, and how has it been so far?
Oh, we're just starting at the moment. We've been, obviously during the summer we did quite a lot of festivals. Now we're indoor touring. It's good. I mean, the thing is, people accept me and FISCHER-Z for the fact that they're not going to just see everything they saw in 1980, because there's been 20 records.
Absolutely.
That acceptance has taken quite a long time, but it's great. The average age of the audience is so much lower than it was, because they've engaged very well with the online situation. It's changed everything for us. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The problem is working out which things to pick to play, because if you've got, I've got 250 songs on record, so you can't play them all.
Yeah, I imagine. Do you still enjoy playing the older FISCHER-Z?
The ones that I play live, yes, I do. I mean, I'll only play the ones that I can get my heart and soul into, that I really feel. But again, I do 5 or 6 of those usually every show. Okay.
Have you other plans for the future, maybe?
Well, obviously we'll be touring the Swimming in Thunderstorms album round to at least the spring. we've had more profile in Britain, which is good. So we'll be doing English shows after Christmas, and that we're leading up basically towards the in 2021. That's the 40th anniversary of Red Skies for Paradise, and there'll be the next FISCHER-Z record will arrive early in that year. Great. And it'll be something it'll have something in common with Red Skies. In the meantime, I've got some interesting projects I'll be doing, but for the moment, we're obviously focusing on Swimming in Thunderstorms. I'm enjoying it. I mean, again, when you've had time to reflect on it, that record, I think that it's a kind of pop record. It's a FISCHER-Z record, and it's not a FISCHER-Z record. And as much as hopefully it's progressed in a different way. It's a FISCHER-Z record for the 21st century.
Absolutely, and it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this interview.
You're
and
welcome.
It was great pleasure to meet you. We wish you all the best.
Yeah, so I was a bit late. I was eating a croque monsieur.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.